This one's a bit different. It's told from a kid's point of view, which makes it hit different than most of what I usually read. Stick around for the ending, it's not what you think. Found You. Family Reunion by username BigB110. Dad picked me up and put me on his shoulders as he nudged Mom towards the house. I couldn't remember the last time I'd been up there. It felt like home though, like warmth, kinda. I held on tight while Dad rushed us all inside. Mom looked flushed and alert. Emmy looked clueless. Jake and Judy had already taken their kids inside and were waiting anxiously for us by the front door. Mom kept breaking her neck to look back towards the woods. Come on, come on! Jake exasperated, snapping his fingers and gesturing for us to pick up the pace. Dad broke into a jog, pulling Mom and Macy along with him as I bounced awkwardly on his shoulders. I could feel my nails digging into his skin from trying to hang on, but he seemed to not even notice. When we got inside, Judy had already started going around the house to lock the doors and windows. Jake closed the door and locked it when we were all accounted for. I'll go check the cameras, he chimed, rushing upstairs. I've got trail cams scattered all throughout those woods. If he's out there, trust me, we'll see him. Mom set Emmy down on the couch and went to help Judy, while Max, Darren, and Kayla just watched them. They seemed just as confused and terrified as me. Kayla's eyes already looked like they were about to burst with tears. Why don't you guys go play upstairs? Dad instructed. Danny will join you in just a bit. Everything's okay, don't worry. You guys are safe. It was weird hearing Dad tell other kids what to do. Embarrassing almost. Even still, they didn't argue. They all just filed up the stairs one by one, while Dad watched until they were out of view. Then he turned to me. Come with me to the kitchen. I'll make you something to drink. He sounded more composed and his demeanor let on, like he knew this moment would come despite hoping it wouldn't be now. I did as he was told and followed him. He pulled a chair out for me at the giant oak dining room table, gestured for me to take a seat while he fixed me a cup of chocolate milk. He sat adjacent to me and just watched me sip it, slowly, for a few minutes. I felt so awkward in that moment. It was like he was trying to read my thoughts. I finished the glass and pushed it to the side. Dad never took his eyes off me, but I couldn't maintain eye contact. I couldn't help but feel like I'd done something wrong. My eyes remained fixed on the table, looking for patterns in the wood. Finally, after what felt like forever, Dad tapped the table with his index finger. My eyes met his once more and he sighed. Daniel, he started. You know you're my whole world, right? I blinked, not knowing what to say. I love you too, Dad, I whispered, struggling to find my voice. Sometimes, kiddo, he continued. Sometimes I think that my sole purpose in life is to keep you and Emmy safe. Your mom, too. And I've been serving that purpose for 9 whole years now, keeping you safe, keeping your mom and Emmy safe. I would never be able to forgive myself if anything happened to you. I was just a kid. I didn't know how to respond to this. To me, it just felt like Dad having a moment after I scared him half to death. You know how sometimes you draw the same picture over and over until you get it right? Dad asked, not really asking. He does that, except it's not a picture. He pulled his sleeve up without me asking. There was a scar there, old, pale, shaped like nothing I could make sense of. 3 thin lines, evenly spaced, like they'd been made on purpose and healed wrong. He pulled his sleeve back down like he regretted showing me. He fished around in his pocket and pulled out a crinkled, folded sheet of paper. He looked at it, then at me. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but instead, he just placed the paper and slid it in front of me. We got this in our mailbox a few days ago. I looked down at the paper and felt even more confused. The man who left it, well, Dad started to choke up. That was twice today I'd seen tears in his eyes. Dad crying was scary, arguably the scariest thing I'd experienced this entire trip. He's been after you for a long time, Dan. I looked down at the paper. It was addressed to my parents, but what was written on it didn't make any sense to me. Found you, I found you, I found you, I finally found you. Found you, found you, found you, found you, found you. The phrase filled up the entire paper. It was scrawled obsessively in sloppy handwriting. And at the very bottom, smaller, like it had been added after, in different handwriting than the rest, say hi to Danny for me. I looked back up at Dad. He looked like he was expecting something from me, but I didn't know what. This didn't mean anything to me. Found you? I asked, puzzled. Who found you? Dad reached over and dragged the paper back towards him. He folded it back up and put it in his pocket. Found you, Danny. He found you. Why would anyone want to find me? Have I met them before or something? He clasped his hands over his face and slid them down slowly. No, son. I've fought to make sure you never will. Oh, okay. Can I have some more chocolate milk, please? He ignored my question, almost aggressively. We tried. We tried so hard to keep him away from you. We tried the police, but nobody was ever able to find him. It's like he only exists when he's after you. That slimy, nasty little bastard. He slammed the hand down on the table and bit his knuckle. His sudden anger made me jump. I was completely speechless. The police should have found him. Before this even started, before you were even born. They should have found him because of what he paused. A tear fell down his cheek. He's a bad man, Danny. You understand that? I nodded. He's a bad man who hurt your mom. Nearly a year before you were born. He did something terrible to her, and now he thinks you're his. He looked at me expectantly again. I'm his? I questioned. No, you will never be his. He doesn't deserve you. It doesn't deserve you. He is pure evil. I could hear Max and his siblings laughing upstairs. I turned my head, resisting the urge to leave my seat. Dad tapped the table again. He was smiling at me now, warmly. Those are your cousins, Dan. It's funny, he chuckled uneasily. Part of me is almost glad that you finally get to meet them. My eyes widened with disbelief. I didn't even think about having any other family members. All I've ever known were Mom, Dad, and Emmy. You guys should have had a great childhood together. None of this should have ever happened to us, especially your mom. But the world it's not a nice place, kiddo. I wish I could change it for you. He leaned over and pushed the hair out of my eyes. We had to move when you were only 2. That guy, that thing out there, it was relentless. He just wouldn't leave us alone. The police did nothing about it, so I took matters into my own hands for you. His eyes looked distant now, like he was living through his entire past while sitting here at the table with me. I hurt him back. I thought I took care of it forever, but he somehow managed to disappear again. Me and your mom were terrified. That's why we had to leave. That's why you don't know Uncle Jake and Aunt Judy. All because of one bad man in a world full of bad people. I didn't understand it, but I could feel the emotion in the room. The weight of the conversation was more than apparent. Dad was bawling now, but still trying to keep himself composed. I reached across the table and grabbed his forearm. Don't cry, Dad, I begged. I'm not mad at you. Everything's okay, I promise. Everything's okay. He picked up my hand and held it tightly before pulling it to his lips and kissing it gently. Everything's okay, kiddo. I'll make sure everything's okay. I thought everything was okay before I got this letter. He'd left us alone for a long time. I thought we finally got rid of him. He gave me one last solemn look. Whatever happens tonight, Dan, I need you to know you're my entire world, kiddo. I love you more than anything. I smiled at him reassuringly. I know you love me, you butthead. I love you too. This much. I spread my arms out cartoonishly. Dad chuckled and ruffled my hair before Jake's voice came echoing from upstairs. Got him. Dad's head shot up. He stood from his seat urgently. I could hear footsteps rushing down the stairs. All right, buddy, go play with Max for a while. Me and Jake are going to go find this guy. He was basically pulling me out of my seat and rushing me towards the stairs. I ran into Jake at the bottom. He was holding something behind his back. Excuse me, champ, he announced, pushing past me. Let's go handle this, Mikey. My dad nodded grimly before snapping his fingers at me to go upstairs. I was halfway up the staircase when I heard a sound that I didn't recognize before. The front door opened and my dad and Jake ran outside. Click-clack. Mom was at the top of the stairs, her arm outstretched towards me, while Judy stood by her side, biting her thumbnails. She didn't say much. She just led me into Max's room and shut the door behind her. All the kids were there. The room was big enough for us not to feel cramped, but still a bit suffocating. Darren was laying on the bed watching TV. Kayla was on the floor humming to herself and coloring. Max and I passed the time by playing with Legos. I'm not sure how much time passed. I never heard Mom or Judy. The front door never opened. I didn't know the time, but it was dark outside. It felt like it was definitely past my bedtime. Max and I were in a bit of a competition. He built a spaceship, I built a car. He built a tower, I built a house. Our imaginations were flowing endlessly. Suddenly, Darren sat up in bed, turning down the television. He seemed alert. The sudden movement caused all of us to look at him. He seemed to be listening for something. "Shh," he snapped, even though no one was talking. The room was silent. Not even crickets chirped outside. I listened as hard as I could. It sounded like screaming. Angry screams, frightened screams. I couldn't make out the words, but I could make out the tones. Darren moved to the window and scanned the backyard. I don't see anything. Max and I joined him. Everything was so dark, I could hardly even see the grass beneath us. My nose was pressed against the glass, but two loud sounds caused me to fall backwards. Darren gasped. Max's eyes turned into a mixture of curiosity and fear. "That sounded like Dad's gun," Darren exasperated before turning to us like somehow we'd have the answers. What followed was a long guttural snarl from somewhere in the woods. 2 more shots, more screams, then silence. My heart was starting to race. I didn't want to cry in front of the other kids, but I couldn't help it. I was just too gripped with worry. The silence stretched. None of us knew what to do. We just kept glancing out the window, hoping that we'd finally be able to see something. The front door exploded open before we got the chance. Every voice was shaken. Mom was in hysterics. Judy was just repeating, "Go get the bandages, go get the bandages. Put pressure on the wound. I think he might need stitches." Jake sounded pumped full of adrenaline. "It's better than it looks. Fucker got me good, but I returned the favor. How are you feeling, Mike?" We all filed out of the room and back towards the stairs. Kayla was leading us, already with tears in her eyes at the sudden chaos. "I got him. I know I got him. That had to have been enough to stop him." Jake was laid back on the couch. His t-shirt was torn to shreds, and blood trickled down his abdomen from 3 distinct wounds across his stomach. They looked like claw marks. Right, Judy scoffed sarcastically while gasping. "That thing is never going to stop." She paused. Her eyes shot up towards the 4 kids racing down the staircase. "Oh no, you guys go back upstairs," she demanded. "We'll be up in a minute." "Mommy," Kayla sobbed. "What's wrong with Daddy?" Jake answered for her. "It's nothing, sweetie. Don't worry about it. Daddy's okay. Just a little scratch from a tree branch. Go upstairs like your mommy asked, all right? I'll come tuck you in here in a bit." Dad dabbed at Jake's stomach with a towel. "I don't think it'll need stitches. Just nasty looking is all." That's the last thing I heard before we all started back towards the bedroom. None of us could sit still. None of us knew what was happening. All we could do was pace around the room and try and listen to the chatter downstairs. Max put his ear to the door and shushed Kayla's already quiet cries. "Shh, I'm trying to listen." He kept his ear there for a few moments before turning back towards us. "Dude, I think Dad shot someone." "Yeah, no dip. What else would that have been?" "Can you shut up? I can't hear." He pressed his ear back against the door. "Wait, no, I think..." He craned his neck like he was trying to push his head through the door. "No, dude, I think he shot a person." Kayla gasped and started wailing. We all tried to shush her, but it was too late. We could already hear the footsteps coming up the stairs. Jaren jumped in the bed and turned the TV back up. Max and I fell to the floor and pretended to be playing with the Legos. Kayla kept screaming and crying. The door flew open and Judy stepped inside. Her eyes were wet and her hands were dirty, but she still put on that strong motherly voice as she glared at the siblings. "Why is Kayla crying?" she asked, no one in particular. There wasn't an answer for a long time before Darren spoke up. "Why do you think? She's worried about Dad." Judy sighed and wiped her face with her sleeve. "Your father's fine, Kayla, just getting patched up after falling in the woods." "That's not what happened," I said under my breath. Judy's eyes fell on me. "Just a fall, Daniel, that's all it was. Don't scare Kayla, please." She was silently pleading with me with her eyes. I opened my mouth to say something, but she interrupted before I could. As a matter of fact, Kay, it's way past your bedtime. Why don't you go clean up and get your PJs on? I promise Daddy will come tuck you in as soon as you're nice, clean, and cozy. Kayla wiped her tears. Her face was still twisted with sadness, but she did as she was told. Danny, your dad wants to talk to you, Judy added. I was actually shocked. I thought I was going to be in this room for at least the rest of the night. I was already mapping out where I'd be sleeping. Like, now? Judy sighed exhaustedly, almost as if she was as surprised as me. It would appear so, kiddo. As for you two, you both need to get cleaned up too, especially you, Max. Darren and Max groaned as Judy took me by the hand and started guiding me back downstairs. Dad was sitting on the couch next to Jake, his hands clasped over his knee. Jake looked better now. His torso was covered in bandages, but he was smiling confidently. His gun rested on his lap. I got him right in the chest, Mike. Did you see that shit? Like hamburger meat. Sure, fucker got me first, but Dad noticed me and put his hands up at Jake. He added one last thing before gesturing for me to come sit beside him. We both got him, Jay. I took a seat beside Dad. Judy joined Mom in the kitchen while she washed her hands. He nudged me. You doing okay, buddy? I'm okay, I think. Are you okay? I replied, my voice rising. Dad and Jake both chuckled sort of nervously. Can't you see, kid? Jake joined, presenting his bandaged abdomen. Never been better. My attention fell on the long gun strewn across his lap. Jake noticed exactly what I was looking at. With a groan, he picked up the weapon and held it in the air. You see this, Dan man? This is proof of how much your dad cares about you. Jake, Dad grumbled, glaring at him. I'm sorry, but it's true, Jake insisted, falling back against the sofa. You deserve a Father of the Year award for that stunt you pulled out there. Dad? I said softly. Dad stopped burning Jake with his eyes for a moment and turned to me. Yes, son? Did you kill him? Dad and Jake looked at each other. Dad's eyes hardened again. The guy from the woods, right? You got him. Got him good, Jake remarked, prompting Dad to curse at him before returning to me. Honestly, Danny, I don't know. I sat with his answer for a moment. I will say, though, Dad added, I hope we did. So what happens now? I asked. Jake stood to his feet, using his gun like a crutch. Well, I don't know about you two, but I've got a daughter to tuck in and, prove I'm alive to. He hobbled over to the stairs. Judy must have heard him and rushed out of the kitchen. Mom followed behind her. Judy took the gun from underneath Jake's shoulders and helped him hobble up the stairs while Mom took a seat with me and Dad. To tell you the truth, son, I don't know what happens next. I think maybe we'll stay here for the night. Then I think it's about time we go home. School's about to start again and we gotta get your shopping done. We all just sat together and embraced each other for a while before Judy came downstairs holding Emmy. I think this one needs her mommy. Emmy was pouting and looked like she'd just woken up. Mom took her and bounced her on her knee while Judy took a seat with us. Jake had something he wanted to show Danny. Let's hope it's not one of his animal skins. As if on cue, Jake came hobbling downstairs with a small metal lockbox in his hands. You're gonna love this, Dan man. Your mom's gonna hate it, though. Jake opened the box and approached me with a smile plastered across his face. He pulled out an old photograph. I almost didn't recognize who it was at first. Is that your mom? Jake laughed. Mom's eyes widened. She almost threw Emmy down just to get a hold of the picture while Dad and Jake cackled. Oh my God, why? Why did I think this was the look back then? You're not the only one, Jake added, reaching for another photo. He flipped it to show Dad. His eyes lit up when he saw it. He took it from Jake's hand slowly. Good Lord, I was beautiful. Mom snickered before teasing, You still are, my big hunk of man. Look, this one's you, Danny. He showed me a picture of myself when I was no older than 1. You were itty-bitty. Mom grabbed the picture and analyzed it before forcing Jake to give her the entire box. Jake relented and took a clumsy seat next to me and Dad. Check the trail cam, he mumbled. He's still there, hasn't moved an inch. Figured we could take him somewhere far, far away from here tomorrow. Burn the son of a... Son of a gun, tomorrow. Dad was relieved. So was Mom. Tomorrow? Let's do that now, Dad responded. Jake cocked a suspicious eyebrow. Now? As in now? Do you see these bandages? Yeah, I don't know about that, Mike, Judy added. It's dark. It's late. We're all exhausted. Plus, just look at Jake. Do it now, Mom interjected, sternly. Please. Mom and Dad both stared at Jake. It has to be now, Jakey, Dad said plainly. No better time than the present. Jake looked distraught for a moment before falling into submission. God, he complained, slapping his knees with his palms. Fine, now, whatever, even though it's already tomorrow and I'm leaking like Hillary's emails, I will do this for you, Mace. Thank you, Mom responded, her voice breaking and her eyes tearing. She quickly wiped them away and cleared her throat. I'll get Danny and Emmy to sleep. I won't even close my eyes until you two are home. Same here, Judy added. Jake went and changed into clean clothes while Dad waited for him by the door. He came back a few minutes later. Let's get this over with, I guess. With that, he and Dad were out the door, and Mom was taking me and Emmy upstairs for bed. She made us sleep in the same room, but she didn't stay in the room with us. I think her and Judy were waiting downstairs for my dad to get back. I tossed and turned for a while. Emmy was restless, but I managed to get her to sleep. Eventually, I myself fell into a deep, much-needed sleep. I don't remember dreaming that night. What woke me up wasn't my dad's hand on my shoulder. It was Emmy, standing at the window in her pajamas, completely still, her nose almost touching the glass the same way Darren's had been the night before. Emmy? She didn't answer. She was 3. She didn't really talk yet, not in full sentences, just sounds and a handful of words. But she was standing at that window with her palm pressed flat against the glass, looking out at the tree line, and she said one word, clear as anything, clearer than I'd ever heard her say a word before. Hi. I got out of bed and looked where she was looking. The trail camera Jake had pointed out the night before, the one aimed at the spot where they'd left the body to deal with in the morning, its little red light was blinking. On. Recording. Aimed at nothing. The clearing where it should have been pointed was empty. No body. No blood that I could see from that distance, though it was still mostly dark. I picked her up. She didn't fight me, just kept her hand pressed flat against the glass a second longer before I pulled her back. Downstairs, I could hear Dad in the kitchen already. The smell of pancakes, low music on the radio, everything sounding exactly like the version of things he wanted us to walk into. I stood at the top of the stairs holding my little sister, and for the first time since we'd gotten to that house, I didn't want to go down. Danny, Mom's voice from the kitchen, warm, normal. Breakfast is almost ready, sweetheart. I looked back at Emmy's window. The little red light was still blinking. Coming, I called down. I didn't tell them what Emmy said. I've never told anyone. I still don't know if a 3-year-old can actually remember a face she's never technically met, or if she was just repeating something she heard somebody say the night before, half asleep, the way kids do. I think about that camera light a lot though. On and recording, aimed at an empty clearing the morning after my dad and my uncle both swore, separately, in front of me, that they didn't actually know for certain whether the man they shot 3 times in the chest was dead. That still calls it the year everything got better. We never went back to that house again. Jake and Judy still live there. Last I heard, they never found the trail cam footage of that night. Jake says the memory card was corrupted. I believe him. I think I have to. That's the story. If you've got one of your own, you know where to send it. Yeah, this one stuck with me since I first read it. Not the shooting, not even the found you note. It's Emmy at the window saying hi to an empty clearing, and nobody ever explaining that. The whole story's about the adults trying to convince a kid everything's fine, and the one moment nobody can spin is a toddler who can't even talk yet, saying a word she shouldn't have a reason to know. If this is you, I hope that camera really was corrupted. I hope it was nothing. Alright, that's it for this one. If you got a story of your own, you know where to send it. I'll see you in the next one.